Mr. President, whenever you're ready.
Let's rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our March 13th Pike Township School Board meeting. We'll start off with our public hearing of the preliminary determination hearing for the 2025 Early Learning Center expansion, renovation, and district-wide facility improvement and equipping project related financing. Mr. Foster.
Good evening, Mr. President,
Good
members of the
evening.
board, Dr. Young. I'd like to welcome everyone to the preliminary determination hearing for the Early Learning Center expansion project. The notice of said hearing has been given in accordance with Indiana law. This is the first of two public hearings. The second public hearing will occur on March 27th. The purpose of a public hearing is to present information for allow for the opportunity for public input. Dr. Young and Mr. Gruber will provide a brief overview of the projects of the proposed financing. I will introduce Mr. Jeff Qualkenbush, bond counsel with Barnes & Thornburg. Mr. Qualkenbush will walk through the legal process and the need for the related resolutions. I'll be presenting those resolutions as action items at the March 27th board meeting. Mrs. Belvia Gray, our municipal advisor with Baker Tilly, will provide a brief financial overview and timing. I'd like to introduce Dr. Young.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board.
Good evening.
I'd like to start off and spend a little bit of time just talking about the why, and more specifically, thinking about and speaking about the Nathaniel Jones Early Learning Center expansion. And there it is. Everything we do ties back to our babies. At the Early Learning Center, we have our youngest learners, our 3 and our 4-year-olds. And these pictures were actually taken from the classrooms at the Early Learning Center. For years, I've heard, by decades, I've heard people talk about eliminating the achievement gap. And it never made sense to me that we would spend so much time and energy, and people have written books, and you would go to conferences and talk about eliminating the achievement gap. Because in my mind, it just made sense that we would just not let the gap even occur in the first place. When children arrive in our kindergartens, let's work on not having the gap there in the first place. As a matter of fact, to that end, several years ago, Mrs. Blandon, Mrs. Gustin-Belinsky, Ms. Hunt and I actually created this document. It's titled Kindergarten Readiness. The idea behind this document was that if children could master the content in this book coming into our kindergarten classrooms, they had a very high chance of success. So we did not only distributed these books to all of our families here at the Early Learning Center and our school families here in the school district, but we actually also distributed these books to daycares, early learning centers, any place in Pike Township that service 3 and 4-year-olds, with the idea that those children would eventually end up in our kindergarten classrooms. Well, this past year was the first year that the children that attended our 3s and 4s actually had matriculated all the way through 3rd grade. So for the first time, they took IRE 3. The state pass average after summer school was 83%. The students that attended our 3s and 4s program, no matter what elementary school they went to, passed IRE 3 at an 88%. Significantly higher than the state average. We cracked the code. We figured it out. If we want to tackle early literacy, we need to get our children into a quality preschool program. And I tell folks down at the State House that all the time. Matter of fact, I was just there, and anyway, we'll see what happens. In addition to that, our Early Learning Center, if you look at that middle slide, it's a little difficult to see, but in the back you see a blue wall. And underneath that blue wall, there are water fountains. Now, I don't have the best of backs. If I drank at that water fountain all day on any day, I probably would have to take a day off because that water fountain is really, really low to the ground. Because the entire Early Learning Center is designed with 3s and 4-year-olds in mind. So when they walk into that building, if nowhere else in the city of Indianapolis, when they walk into that building, they know that this place was designed with me in mind. And that level of comfort is what I believe is a small piece, a component to the success that our kids are having there. Now, we do have preschool classrooms at our elementary buildings, and those architects did a really good job, but they're creating a space that is from preschool all the way to 5th grade. So when you walk into our preschool classrooms at the elementary buildings, you'll see a space that's designed for our 3s and 4s. But there's really something special about having an entire building if I'm a student and I walk into that space. Because of the success that we've had, we've outgrown the space that we currently utilize. And rather than turn students away, what we've done is we've moved our 3-year-olds to the elementary buildings and those preschool classrooms, which have allowed more 4-year-olds to fill the space where we currently are. So that's the reason for the why. At this time, I would like to invite up Mr. Group.
Thank you, Dr. Young.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, members of the board, it's my pleasure now to talk a little bit about the building. So I tried my best to get a vantage point that is similar to the rendering that we have there, but I want to just talk a little bit about the existing building as it is today. So when the Early Learning Center was designed originally, it was designed for 37,000 square feet, which would accommodate 300 students and approximately 40 staff members. As Dr. Young has already mentioned, we have outgrown that space and we need to expand it. And as we visited with the architects and tried to figure out how we can make that work on this property, we thought, well, let's take what is already there and let's just kind of twist it and flip it and add it to the south side of the building. So what you see on the future drawing, everything that's in the gray is the existing building. So you see the main entrance where you have the circle, the front offices, and then you have the 2 pods of classrooms. So the pods are broken up into, right now, the pod on the north side of the building has 8 classrooms, and the one further down on the south has 6 classrooms because 2 classrooms were kind of merged together originally to function as a cafeteria. So from this picture, you can see that we'd be adding a bunch of stuff to the south. On the top part of the photo there, you see kind of a rectangle shape with, we've kind of delineated 4 rectangles. The idea of that space is that it would be a cafeteria / gym / area for students to just exercise and get their wiggles out, especially when we have bad weather. And then we will add 2 pods with up to 8 classrooms just right off of that. And then we have some flexibility within there to add additional office space if we need to, or smaller workrooms if that is the case. And then in the middle of all of that, we are going to kind of take out the playground that exists now and add separate playgrounds. So 3 to 4 different playgrounds that are delineated with some sidewalks, probably some type of a rubber play surface, and that will allow the students to be out there. If I understand the rules with preschool, our 3s and 4s would have to have recess separately, so they need to have separate places to play out there, and this allows multiple classes to go out, 3s or 4s to play. This gives you a little bit more of a schematic of what the property will look like from an aerial spot. And this one I wanted to show because the orientation can be a little bit confusing. Currently, we have the angled bus parking along New Augusta Road there. So it's kind of tucked between New Augusta and the west side of the building. But you'll see that we would like to move those buses to the east side of the building so that we're not interfering at all with car riders, with where faculty and staff are parking. And we believe that this is just going to clean up the traffic flow a lot better and be able to accommodate those additional students and staff that'll be required to work in that facility. Once again, the kind of crossed out area is the existing building, and everything that's in white is the new facility. And this is just a basic floor plan. The area highlighted in yellow would be the addition onto the south of the building. And the idea here is that the end of the hallway right there on the south side of the building is a big window that's kind of up a little bit higher. And so it already has a constructional header inside of it. So it's a support wall, supports the roof. And so it is perfectly designed for when that building is finished, we can cut that wall down and we open it up into the new space. So the construction is going to be completely separate from the learning of our students. And there's not going to be construction workers coming in and out of the space that exists right now. It would allow us to kind of work completely separate. And at the end of the project, we can then just take that wall down and just leave it open or add doors, whatever we come up from an architect's perspective. So that is what we're looking at with the Early Learning Center. But as you know, we've talked about some other facility updates that have to happen. So in any school corporation that has a lot of facilities, as those facilities age, we have to take care of them. And all of the projects that you see here, these are projects that if the public wasn't aware of, they may not know that we do them. So this isn't going to change the face of a building. This isn't going to scream, aha, when you walk in. We're not changing colors in lobbies. We're not changing hallways. But these things are critical to the environment that our students are learning in. So we have asphalt and concrete repairs that have to happen district-wide, roof restorations at a couple different locations, looking at emergency power, life and safety like fire alarms, security alarms, HVAC upgrades, as well as some interior refreshes, and then a kitchen renovation. I've outlined some of the projects here in a little bit more detail, let you know the locations that we're having them at, and where those are taking place. The one thing I do want to point out, and I shared this in the work session, is that a lot of people don't realize this, but the administration building where we stand now is one of the older facilities in the district. And it's a facility that has not had much by way of updates or renovations. And we find ourselves in a situation where our HVAC is starting to give us problems, and the inside of the building is starting to age, and it's at the end of its life cycle. And so it's something that we need to look at and refresh, because this is the place where people come to first learn about Pike. And this is a place that represents Pike. And that's one of the reasons that it's on the list as well. But as I mentioned, these projects, like I said, they're not going to be super flashy. A lot of it happens behind the scenes, behind mechanical room doors, up on roofs where you're not going to see it, but it will change the learning environment for the better and ensure that our kids have a safe and comfortable place to learn and to grow for the next 15 to 20 years. Before I turn it over to Mr. Qualkenbush, were there any questions about the projects or the Early Learning Center that I presented today?
I do have a question about the Early Learning Center, and correct me, please forgive me if you did say it. In the addition, how many classrooms would be in those pods?
So right now, we don't have a set number. We're looking between 14, which would match what we already have, and 16. But we have to look at staffing, office space, how do we utilize those current spaces and make sure that we have enough for all of the staff that have to be in there in the future.
Do we have an idea of how many students we want the building to hold? once it's done?
So I would estimate that we would be able to hold about about 400 or 500 around. What do you?
In the addition?
Yeah, once we're complete with the.
No,
Once we're completed, we will almost double
Yeah.
our student capacity.
That
So
was
right now,
right.
we're 300.
Yeah.
So we should be closer to 600, 550 to 600.
Total 600?
Once once it's
the whole
completed.
building?
Yeah.
How many students are per classroom, on average, that you would guesstimate?
I need some help. I believe the threes is it 24 is the max?
It's between 20 and 24.
And then the fours, same?
That's the same number.
In the conceptual drawing,
Go ahead.
I guess it would be kind of difficult to determine square footage now.
So we think that it's going to be somewhere in that 35 to 40,000 square feet adding on. So almost doubling the square footage of the current facility.
What are construction costs? Are you hearing? I know you haven't had bids.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with
And
the
obviously, a
process.
lot of this is going to change based on scope, meaning
Yeah.
kind of what type of finishes we put in, and just the finished look, right? But we're looking somewhere in the 22 to 24 million dollars construction cost.
Okay.
Just for my knowledge, especially because they are, even though they won't be in the building, the construction teams obviously will be right there with our kids. When we do, is it typical when we do a project like this, do we do background checks on the workers?
Oh,
that are
yeah.
gonna be in that
And
vicinity? Okay,
any
well,
contractor that comes in,
Okay.
even if they're coming in the summer when kids
Okay.
aren't here, they have to go through the same background checks that our
Okay,
staff
good.
go through, and
Okay.
Chief Casper monitors that for us.
Awesome, okay. And then I assume when we get down to the details on the inside, I assume we're gonna be having our teachers that are, currently there giving suggestions, advice, whatever, on to maybe lessons learned from the current building so that we continue to make improvements in the new building.
Yeah, we'll definitely seek feedback on.
Okay.
Now, but we also want the spaces to coincide very well
Right.
together. So we don't want the two to clash and appear that we've got two separate buildings.
Right.
But definitely from the construction side, materials and those types of things, we'll definitely want to apply what we've learned.
Okay.
What part of the 36,000 square feet will be multi-purpose like?
I believe the multipurpose room is right around 8 to 10,000 square feet.
Okay. That will be cafeteria?
Kind of like a lot of our cafeterias in the elementary school have that rubber flooring, and it's kind of a mix. So that's what it'll be like. And the idea right now is that we would hang curtains in there as well, so that if we needed to divide them up into different lunch groups or different gym classes, we can do that. But it would be, the concept there is that multifunctional. They can make it whatever they need it to be.
The gym and cafeteria will be multifunctional.
Correct.
That's that rectangular part that you were talking about?
Yes.
Couple of questions. What is for the new pods, what's the construction material? Is it brick and mortar or?
Well, so interiors, most new construction interior is going to be some type of metal stud. The exterior of the wall I honestly don't know at this point in time. Typically, it is some type of concrete, and then you do like a brick and mortar facade as a decorative piece. But they're doing a lot of great things right now with like poured concrete slabs where they just stand them up, and that tends to expedite the construction process. So those are all things that we'll look at to try to be the most efficient we can with the construction process, but also being fiscally responsible.
So not like the fabricated homes that you can order and then throw up real quick?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll bring it in on trucks.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then also, with our political climate directly affects our economy. So are you watching or someone watching, because that's directly going to affect our cost. And so if we get to a point to where, things get a little hairy, who's watching the cost of materials?
So typically in a process, in a project of this scale, obviously we're going to part with an A&E firm, an architecture firm. And then as a project of this scale, we'd also bring in a construction management company. And they have cost estimators that are paying attention to the cost of goods, labor, et cetera, and they can advise us as we go. Say, hey, you guys might want to hold off 6 months. There's been some things politically. And that's the benefit of partnering with a construction management firm. They have their ears to the ground. They're paying attention to all of that for us, because although I've been involved in a number of construction projects, I don't live in that world every single day, but they do.
Another thing, when we go out to bids, we will consider minority contractors as well. I would hope so. And then I think it needs to be said, not only are we building, but we're doing some renovations. I think we need to talk about that more as well, because most people get fixated on the new facility and forget about the other pieces that you have to this particular puzzle.
Yeah.
And so that the community can know that there's more than just a building going on.
You know, it's interesting, Doctor, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, go
Dr.
ahead.
Moore, but to that point, I have an upcoming superintendent talk. The last one I did, I believe, was with Mr. Jacob, when we talked about wellness. So the next one will actually be, I'll have an opportunity to interview Mr. Gruber. So that will be before our next board meeting. I was going to share that at the end in closing remarks. So he'll have an opportunity to talk about some of the remodeling projects that we actually have going throughout the district. We'll be sure to share that on the our different platforms.
I think
as
that's
well.
that's important to put that piece in there, because that's going to be a part of the budget. So it needs to be stressed to to all of us and to the community as well.
Okay, if nothing else, Mr. Qualkenbush?
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Young, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. So the legal process has been somewhat identified already and described by Mr. Foster, but let me just dive into that a little deeper, and I'll repeat some of the things that we said during the work session that we had in the middle of February. This is the first of 2 public hearings that you'll have on this project and this financing. At this public hearing, you will not take any action, but at the March 27th public hearing, after the public hearing, we will then present to you a resolution for your consideration that would make what is called a preliminary determination to proceed with the project and the financing based on the parameters that Mr. Gruber has outlined with respect to those projects, and then also the financing parameters as presented by Baker Tilly yet this evening. If you adopt that resolution, then we will publish the notice of that preliminary determination a week or so after that in the newspapers. And then we will wait 30 days, and if no one requests us to go through any additional community approval process, then we'll start the financing process with you, where we'll go through having you approve certain resolutions, and at the same time, then you'll have the architect starting to really do the design work on both the renovations as well as the new construction, and they'll come to you more often than we will with presentations and cost estimations and have you approve each of those as schematic design, design development, and then construction documents. We are anticipating that you would be through the legal process by the end of the summer and could sell bonds as early as the end of the summer. But we will wait until the construction process catches up with that so that you actually sell the bonds in the amounts that you need for the projects and that they're then spent within a timely fashion. I believe the Early Learning Center is estimated to take about 18 months or so to construct, maybe 12 months on most of that. So you'll be running through that money rather quickly, but you will be earning some interest on that as well. But we don't want to issue that too far in advance under federal tax law. So we'll be back to you several times over the course of the next several months, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have regarding the process now, and then I will describe in more detail the resolution at the March 27th public hearing.
Any questions? All right.
All right. Hearing that, I'll turn it over to Belvia Gray from Baker Tilly.
Thank you, Mr. Qualkenbush. Good to see you, Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Young. Tonight, I'm here to present the information related to the financing of the proposed project. And every time we come to you and share information, we always go through your existing indebtedness. Tonight, I'll share some information related to your general obligation borrowing capacity, and then we'll walk through the parameters for the proposed bonds. This is the detail of your existing outstanding debt service payments, but as you can see, it's very small. So I always like to go to the next slide, which shows all of your information in graphical form. And a few things I always like to point out when I come to Pike are 2 things. One is your existing debt structure has several step downs, and that is really good because it means that it preserves the school corporation's flexibility in terms of looking at projects such as the ones that you're considering right now and bringing those on without increasing your overall debt service and total tax rate of the school corporation. So that is what we've done tonight with the information that we're going to share. The second thing that I always like to share is that the school corporation has had a policy of really paying its debt back pretty rapidly. For those in the room who aren't aware, the maximum repayment term for debt issuances in the state of Indiana is 20 years. Pike has routinely paid back its debt in much fewer years than that, and so that does save certainly the taxpayer dollars, but it also, to me, is a testament that you have all the projects you've been able to accomplish throughout the district, and you have a very rapid repayment here. The next schedule here shows a calculation of the school's outstanding or current general obligation borrowing capacity. And every taxing unit in the state has a maximum amount of bonds that it can borrow in its own name. And so that calculation is based upon your most recent net assessed valuation. It's divided by 3 and multiplied by 2%. And then we deduct from that outstanding principal payments of your outstanding general obligation bonds. So we come to a total here of $19.4 million. For most districts, the 19.4, the general obligation borrowing capacity, isn't always sufficient to take care of some of the needs that you have. And so the school in the past has looked at a combination of general obligation bonds or GO bonds and then first mortgage bonds in order to accomplish all of its capital needs. And the way that the resolutions are written, if the school board moves forward, it allows you the flexibility to issue both types of bonds. So we've included this as part of the calculations. Then looking at a summary of the proposed financing, with all the projects that Mr. Gruber mentioned, we're looking at a maximum borrowing amount of $44.325 million. And I want to emphasize that through this process, we're always establishing maximums, and we can come down from them, but we can't exceed them. And certainly, based upon Mr. Anderson's comments, we want to make sure that we're taking into account things that could happen with inflation and timing issues and things like that. So we've taken that into account in terms of determining the maximum borrowing amount based upon today's construction costs, and also taking into account that the bonds could be issued in one or more series of bonds, depending on when you need the money. We're proposing a maximum repayment term of up to 12 years per series of bonds. And the way that we've structured this is to not increase the non-exempt tax rate over current levels. There is also additional information on this slide that's required to be included by statute that includes current and proposed annual debt service and your direct and overlapping debt as a percentage of net assessed valuation. And then finally, pulling everything together, the gray bars represent your existing debt and the blue bars represent the proposed repayment. We did just show it as one borrowing for purposes of this illustration, but like I said, we would sequence this out in multiple series as needed. And you can also see that we are showing where the debt service tax rate, where we're kind of keeping those, managing that overall tax rate. Questions from the board?
You mentioned construction costs. I don't know if you have how is the construction cost since COVID? You know, we had a tremendous problem with COVID, with the skyrocketing of material. Has that shifted? Where is it now?
Mr. Gruber's probably the best person to answer that question since it's more construction related, so I'll let him answer that.
I thought you all would be a great tandem doing that.
Yeah.
I can answer interest rates enough, but yeah.
Great question. So I know that I've been before this board several different times and talked about how supply chain was really impacted by COVID. And we felt that for probably 2 or 3 years after the pandemic ended. I would say right now, particularly here in Indianapolis, the supply chain has really opened up and we can get things in a relatively short order. The thing that we're challenged with right now is tradespeople and general labor. There are a lot of public works projects going on in the city of Indianapolis and the surrounding areas, and it's gobbling up men and women who do the work that needs to be done. So where we're seeing a lot of volatility in the construction costs that we have right now is in labor costs, particularly in the mechanical world. When we do a mechanical project, chillers, boilers, that type of thing, labor costs are significant. But as far as equipment goes, and I'll give you a perfect example. About a year and a half, 2 years after the pandemic, to get a new chiller, a 250-ton chiller, which is a pretty average-sized chiller for a school or even a small business, you might be waiting 27 to 30 months to get that chiller. They are now churning out chillers in more like a 6-week to, 10-week time period, depending on the size of that chiller. So significant improvements in supply chain. But I think just with where we're at as a country, we are seeing people still flee from the labor market, and it's making it challenging.
Thank you. Interest rates.
Yes.
With the market behaving the way it is today, and I know it's difficult to do this. We'll never see another 2.3% as we did it once upon a time in a few years ago. We'll never see that again, but that was not for construction, but
Sure.
for construction interest rates. What would that look like?
So that's a really good question. For purposes of the maximum parameters, we're including 6% interest rate. Today's rates, like if we had issued these bonds today, would be 3.9%, okay? So we build in 2% cushion. And then as you can also see, we have the 12 years, but because of Pike's debt structure and the way we've structured the proposed bonds, look at the step downs that we've continued to include in there. So even if interest rates went up to 6%, you still would be able to stay within the parameters that are being suggested tonight. So the short answer is those are the rates, but the school still has flexibility for repaying the debt.
You know, I just have a comment. You answered my question, so now I just have a comment, because one thing about Pike is our ability to pay back in our financial situation. I don't know of any other district that
There's
has
not
what
one
we
in
have.
Indiana.
And so, since I've been on the board, we've always kept that intact. And so it gives me a sense of relief that, from what you said, I know that you're watching that, because, you talk about fears of recession and everybody's worried about their tolerances and stuff. So thank you very much for keeping an eye on that and giving us the details that we need. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. All right.
Anyone else with any questions?
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you again, President, members of the board, Dr. Young. Like I mentioned, this is a public hearing with the opportunity for make public comment. I recommend we make that time available at this time.
Is there anyone in the audience that have any comments pertaining to the public hearing? All right. So we do not. So this will conclude our public hearing. Now we will go on to our regular scheduled school board meeting, starting off with For the Good of the Cause. If there are any patrons who would like to use this platform, you have 3 minutes. You can start by stating your name for the good of the cause.
Good evening, President Anderson, member of the school board, and Dr. Young. My name is Ben Church, and I'm a concerned teacher in the district. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. As leaders of the community, you are called to lead with love. Public education is being attacked at the federal level and at the state level. The federal government is talking about cutting or eliminating Title I funds, special education funds, school meal programs, and Medicaid, which pays for speech, OT, and PT. At the state level, they're proposing legislation that would reduce Pike's budget by up to $2 million and then force us to share the money that we have with charter schools. These attacks on public education are evil. They will hurt the children in our schools, and they will hurt our families and our communities. As leaders, we are called to speak for those who don't have a voice, such as children. If these cuts to education are passed, you will have to make very difficult decisions about which services you will reduce or eliminate and which families and children in this district will be harmed the most. I call on you to join educators and concerned families across the nation on March 19th and participate in a walk-in at every school in the country. Gather at the schools 20 minutes before the contracted start time of the day with signs in support of public education and against cuts to funding. Then post all over social media that day using the hashtag #ProtectStudents and hashtag #ProtectFamilies. As leaders, you must inform your community of the dangers that lie ahead, and you must lead them to a just cause. The best leaders have a servant's heart, and they will lead by example. The forces that are bringing these evil bills forward, these attacks on our students, these assaults on our communities, are hoping that you will get discouraged or scared and that you will give up. You are a light for good in this world. Do not hide your light under a bushel. The Pike community needs leaders who will be a light in these dark times. They need leaders who will work to protect them and persevere. To citizens of the community, it is time to stand up and make your voices heard. Pike leaders and Pike community, join educators to make sure your voice is heard at a rally 20 minutes before school starts at the local schools on March 19th. Make sure your legislators know that you do not support these cuts. It is time to make your voice heard. When we all come together to make our voices heard, we can be Pike strong. We can be Pike proud. Just like John Lewis says, let's get out there and be some good troublemakers.
Thank you, Mr. Church. Is there anyone else for the good of the cause?
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. President. I'm Colin Hopp.
My name is Steven Summers. We're 8th graders at New Augusta who've been friends since kindergarten.
We're here to invite everyone on the board and everyone here to come see Cinderella at New Augusta Public Academy North.
Nearly 75 students are involved in this year's play, and they are not just the performers, but the people behind stage, doing lights, painting many beautiful artworks. Make sure the show, we've been working on this for several weeks.
6 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
And we'd also like to thank everyone who's been working on the show with us. So not only everyone Stephen just mentioned, but also Miss Johnson, the principals, Mr. Dobbs, Mr. Bishop, and Dr. Payne. And the shows are Thursday at 4:15 and 7, Friday at 7, and a Saturday show at 2.
We'd like to invite everyone here and everyone in Pike Township to come to Cinderella this year. The link will be posted soon, so you can buy your tickets.
Actually, I think the link has already been posted, but this paper was made a while ago. So I believe it's already up on all the social media services, and I'd just like to say thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right. Come
on. The dates are next Thursday the 20th, Friday the 21st, and Saturday the 22nd. Sorry about that.
No
That's
problem.
okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else for the good of the cause? All right. So that concludes for the good of the cause. We'll move on to Spotlight on Pike. Ms. Sarah Dorsey. I'm sorry, Dr. Young.
I am not Miss Dorsey. I apologize. She was unable to be here. Please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. She is, I don't believe she would mind me sharing that she's caring for an ailing family member. So I am more than happy to step in. What she had prepared to share is that on Friday, March the 7th, the Lincoln Middle School Jazz Band traveled to Avon Middle School South to compete in the ISMA State Jazz Festival. After many hours of practice and determination, the band returned with a superior gold rating in the middle school division and an outstanding soloist award for jazz trombonist Azera Bell. Also, please join us in congratulating our Pike High School's Jazz 3, Jazz 2, Jazz Combo, Jazz 1, and Jazz Orchestra on a great weekend at the ISMA Jazz Fest. Our students at Pike are incredibly talented and musical young people and got the chance to show that off all weekend. They brought home 2 golds and 3 golds with distinction. Our Pike High School Jazz Orchestra performed at Reedfield Central for ISMA Jazz and earned a gold with distinction. Congratulations to Isaiah Hill, Damon Howard Jr., and Jahari Miller for being selected to the all-county team for boys basketball, and to Jalen Ashley for receiving honorable mention. We are also extremely proud of Kamari Booker, who was selected to the 2025 Indiana Junior All-Stars Red Group. She will play against Kentucky on June 1st. Last but never least, we would like to thank the individuals and organizations listed on this evening's agenda for their generous donations. The Walker Career Center donated $1,600 for mats for our cosmetology and barbering program. Scripps Howard Foundation contributed $1,000 to our Pike High School robotics program. Heather Henry donated a violin with an estimated value of $99 to Lincoln Middle School. Mr. Hoofer donated $100 to the Share the Book Fund for the Nathaniel Jones Early Learning Center. Lincoln Middle School received $983.65 through Donors Choose for a project called Horizon House. Doing good feels great. And the Pike Township Educational Foundation donated a total of $1,255 to support projects at Pike High School and the Nathaniel Jones Early Learning Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Next, we'll move on to reports to the board. Exceptional Earners Update. Ms. Jennifer Coley.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Young. Tonight, I'm very excited to share some of the highlights related to our work in the Exceptional Learner Department. This year, we have increased in our special education population to just under 1,800 students, which equates to about a 10% increase overall from last school year, with the elementary level showing the majority of that increase. All schools in the district service students with resource needs, speech, occupational, and physical therapy, as well as visual impairment and deaf and hard of hearing needs. For students with more significant behavioral needs, we have self-contained behavior supports classrooms at Snacks Crossing, New Augusta South, all 3 middle schools, and the high school. Some students in Pike are receiving alternative curriculum, and there are self-contained classrooms supporting that curriculum at the elementary level at Central, Fishback, Eastbrook, and newly this year at Eagle Creek. At the middle level, we have classrooms at Lincoln and New Augusta North, and then also at the high school. Functional academics has been at the secondary level at Lincoln and Pike High School for the past several years, and I'm excited to share on the next slide that new this year, we have now functional academics at the elementary level as well at Central and at Eagle Creek. We are also very excited about the behavior classroom shift to a diagnostic classroom at Snacks Crossing Elementary that I'm going to explain on the next slide. So, our diagnostic classroom was born out of the realization that some of our students who were in a self-contained behavior classroom also had mental health needs that were significantly impacting their behavior. So, that being seen, we put our heads together and decided to move forward with creating a diagnostic classroom that has a low number of students, a classroom teacher, and IA support. Additionally, we have a partnership with Cummins Behavioral Health with a full-time therapist in that classroom all day, every single day. It's a beauty to go over and see it in action. I love going over there. I would highly recommend it. One of the most telling data points at the school is that seclusion and restraint incidents have decreased by 77% at Snacks Crossing, which is excellent. We are very excited about that. And we've also been able to successfully transition a couple of those students that are our most significant students in the district back into general education for some time as well, with the supports of the mental health piece. It's been really great to see. Last year, Dr. Gatewood shared with you about the alternate diploma. That was the first full year that we had that. This is our second full year with the alternate diploma, and we've seen some excellent outcomes from this diploma being available to our students. In the past, students who now receive this diploma would have only been able to receive a certificate of completion. However, those who meet this criteria here are able to receive the alternate diploma. So what does this mean? To put it simply, it means the world. This year, we have 8 students out of the 13 students receiving the alternate diploma who have been accepted to college or post-secondary trade schools. That wouldn't have happened previously. These same students would have received a certificate of completion that colleges currently do not recognize, and post-trade schools. Our teacher in the functional academics program works tirelessly to prepare them for the application process, filling out the FAFSA, and other related activities. It's an amazing opportunity for these students, and we are absolutely thrilled that they have this in front of them. Additionally, we are very excited to report that our special education graduation rate for last year was 90%, which is 10% higher than the state average. It's a great accomplishment by our exceptional learner students and the staff who work with them. The next highlight is our CPI, our Crisis Prevention and Intervention. We've been doing this for some time now. Every year, our DBST team is still offering several CPI trainings throughout the district for teachers and instructional aides, and although this does have a component for safe holds, our greatest area of training is in the de-escalation strategies, because we know that if we're able to successfully de-escalate a student, we don't have to do the holds, which is a big part of that training. Our next program highlight is teacher recruitment and retention. This is a big one in special education. So as I know you are all aware, one of the greatest areas of teacher shortage is in special education. Over the past 3 years, 2 programs in Indiana have grown out of this need. One is ISEAL and the other is ASSET. ISEAL is for individuals who already have a bachelor's degree to be hired by a school district to teach while simultaneously enrolling in a state-approved teacher certification program at no cost to them, including books. Historically, this has allowed many of our instructional assistants who have their bachelor's become certified special education teachers. They're doing a great job. ASSET is for individuals who already have a teaching license and are moving into special education. This program is completed under the supervision of the Director of Special Education. It's also no cost. It's set up a little bit differently. We gather these teachers 1 day per month to participate in virtual professional development here at ASC. We do it a little bit differently here in Pike than other districts do. Most of the time you would see people sitting in by themselves at a computer. We like to bring everyone together. That's something that we think is important so that they can have conversations and get to know each other and lean on each other as they collaborate. They also have various assignments that related to special ed that they turn in to the Director of ASSET. So the Assistant Director of Exceptional Learners, Amy Kiger, is the lead with the ASSET program and meets individually with the teachers as a mentor. We both have been in that role and find it to be extremely beneficial, not only for the teacher, but actually for us as administrators to be able to build capacity in that way with our staff and get to know them. The next slide is about 504s or ADA plans. We've increased every year. We now are at 355 individuals with 504 plans, 325 students, and 35 staff members that we work with who have needs related to ADA. So, ongoing efforts. As we move into the next school year, we will be looking closely at our service delivery model to ensure that it is meeting the needs of the increasing specialized populations in the district. We do this by reviewing data and working closely with administrators and staff at the building level. We are watching closely our elementary life skills classrooms because in the past 2 years alone, we have seen a 66% increase in that area. We are predicting another increase for next school year. We received the IDOE paraprofessional grant for the second year in a row. We're going to apply for it again if they make it available. We've been able to shore up the skills of our paraprofessionals. We receive a lot of positive feedback from the paraprofessionals about doing that with them. And then this summer, we will also partner with IEPTA Center as well as some outside consultants to work with our exceptional learner teachers during Elevate Ed and other opportunities throughout the school year. Professional development has to be a focus, especially when it comes to retaining teachers and self-efficacy that our exceptional learners teachers need to be successful. Last but not least, in Pike, we often hear that families move here because of the special education services. We are proud of that, and we are seeing an increase in special education statewide, and Pike is no exception to this. Therefore, as the needs and numbers of special education students rise, it is imperative that we work together to continue to provide the level of excellence that our Pike students know. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions or comments from the board?
Mr. President, I think after hearing Mr. Church this evening and then hearing this, I think we need to begin to echo much louder what this district is doing for these students who have a desire to learn. And if charter schools come in here, we could lose the momentum that we have with special education. And we don't want to lose that momentum. And so I urge everyone who is listening tonight to be pro-public education and special education as well, because a lot of our students are able to go on after they come through the system. If it did not happen, where would their lives be? And so we don't want to create anything in our township that is going to take away the ideal of special education in the way that it is being produced here in Pike Township. So we have to talk about what public education is doing for the underserved child in education. Thank you so much for your work and your staff as well.
So I have a question. You use the IAs to promote them to, if they have a bachelor's, to become teachers.
Right.
One of the obstacles, just from experience, is praxis test, passing it.
The praxis, absolutely.
So, is there anything in the future that you can have, like tutoring sessions, just for them to meet and go over those tests to help them pass that test? Because I think that's a big obstacle. And then I think that would retain them to want to be teachers because they've got that extra support of being able to go to a class after school and maybe have someone there to go through. I don't know if that's something that.
Yeah, I actually just was talking to the superintendent about that a couple weeks ago because I had an IA at one of our trainings and we were having this great conversation, great IA, and just was struggling with, missing it by 1 point or 3 points. And so she and I are working together to try to come up with some times to get together to look over the test and try to see if we can get her past that for that paraprofessional test for sure.
Right. I'm thinking if you have a group of them that you're interested in and then offer that as part of the, the ISEAL program.
And they do offer some tutoring with ISEAL as well.
And then
Yes,
you could
they
allow
do.
that to get-
And ASSET as well. In fact, they were just talking about that the other day. They spend an actual session talking about the praxis exam for ASSET. So that you're bringing up a great point. That is, it can be hard for some staff to be able to get through that.
All right. Thank you. Good.
I just wanted,
Please go ahead.
I just wanted to comment that I really like the pivot that you made in elementary school with the behavior room, the mental health.
Yes.
That part is so important. Just from what we went through as a community, as a nation, as the world, and you think about how old the kids are and how they probably were perhaps affected by that. And making space for them to heal, because mental health is a journey. I think is incredibly intentional, and I'm really glad that your staff saw that, acted on it, and it seems as though it's having a really positive impact on some really young children, which I think will have a positive impact on their education overall.
That particular teacher in that program, one thing I didn't say, and you're bringing it to mind, she actually went through one of the alternative ice seals. So she's going through that as well, and she's incredible. I mean, incredible. The staff has just been really, that's where it all is, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I did
Anything else?
want to make a comment about the ice seal and the asset. Ice seal does, even once you gone through the transition teaching program with certain universities, they still are available to tutor as well. And they
Yes.
had some I
Thank
was
you.
able to do some sessions
Great.
and get some assistance with those tests as well when I was going through that process.
Great.
So they are connected to folks that know that test and understand it and can help with that.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for you and the whole department, everything you guys do. I had the chance visit and go through some of the reading that I did this in the last 2 weeks. We went to some of the schools. I got to go to Nathaniel Jones and be in the inclusion and in the developmental rooms. And first of all, those teachers are amazing. And so piggybacking kind of on what Dr. Young was saying earlier about the need for the expansion, I mean, it is for all of our kids, all in the community. And so seeing that those children get that early start also, and just thinking hearing the numbers that are going on to college, thinking where that can lead to with the impact that we can have. And if there's any students out there that are listening, things like Best Buddies, programs like that where other students partner in and work with the life skills area. For my daughter, it was literally life-changing. And so I just would encourage, if somebody's looking for a home and in Pike and something to get involved in, that is certainly an excellent program. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You're right. It is a great program. I'm a Best Buddies chapter advisor as well, so it's amazing. And
Yes.
I know you didn't mention Best Buddies,
I
but
didn't.
I agree with Mr. Hoofer. It's an amazing program.
We've had it for quite some time,
Yep.
so,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, just a comment, very good work with you and your staff. The 77% decrease in seclusions and restraints says so much but one thing that sticks out to me is that it reminds our students that this is a safe place, you know, because they can go home to an unstructured environment, but they come here and we see that your plan is working. And so I commend you and your staff and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
Just one. I wanted to say that I too have experienced that Pike is the place to go with special needs students. We hear it, I experienced it. The rumor is if you want your child to be in a safe place to get the education that they are, the free and reduce, just get the vape. I don't want to go through the acronyms, but they get those. They have those teachers in there that are actually have compassion for those students, and they spend more time out of contract time on their own time to make sure those students are getting what they need. And what makes it so great is that it is ringing out amongst the community. So that's why that we have a great department, and that's why our numbers are climbing, because of the people that you choose to work with those students. So that,
And people come back to work with us too. People come back and work in.
Yes, I will.
Any more questions or comments?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Cole.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go on to our first reading of the Board of Education Policies. Dr. Bishop.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Young. This evening, I present to you 9 policies that the policy committee, along with our Neola representative, have met to discuss. There are 7 of the 9 are revisions that we're cross-referencing with Indiana code, whether it's with a House bill or a Senate bill. 2 of them are new for you to review, one of which is from a banking standpoint, and the other one is dealing with artificial intelligence. In the next 2 weeks, should you have any questions after you're able to review these documents, please feel free to reach out to me and I will provide additional information for you or answer any questions you may have. But this particular batch involves policy number 5111, 5500, 5610, 6140, 6250, 7540.03, 7540.04, 7540.09, and 8420.
Any questions or comments?
I just want to say I appreciated the thoughtful and purposeful policies about AI. I think we're approaching that really well.
Questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Dr. Bishop.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to our action items, starting off with action item A. If we can get a motion to accept the minutes of the Board of Education regular meeting February 27th.
So moved, Brother President.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Are there any questions or comments? We'll move on to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes carried. Next, we have the 24-25 administrators and classified staff pay increase. Dr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Glad to have an opportunity to present what is typically presented by Mr. Elmore. Please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. If you did not know, he recently lost his father over the last couple of days, so he is spending some time, obviously, on bereavement. So, but I am glad to present this evening for your consideration the 2024-2025 administrators and classified staff pay increase. I recommend approval as presented.
We have a motion on the floor.
So moved, Brother President.
We have a first and a second. Do we have any?
Second.
Do we have any comments or questions?
My comment would be tonight is that I think we have better clarity, some better clarity of what we are bringing before tonight. I think this board, if I might say, Mr. President, has the love for our teachers and all of our staff. I think the delay was based on being sure and having the clarity we need to make sure our teachers and our staff are well taken care of. I just thought that needed to be said because we don't want anybody to leave out of here thinking that this board did not want to do anything as it relates to raise this for our teachers and staff. We just needed to be clear and if everybody was going to be taken care of the right way.
And,
I agree.
And I might comment on that one myself because again, as Dr. Moore stated, we don't ever want our teachers, our staff, or administration to think that we do not appreciate the hard work that they do. We certainly do, but as a responsibility to the state, as a board, we are responsible for our fiduciary decisions that we make, and so we want to make sure that we make them in a right way, in a healthy way that affects all of us. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, state not coming after this administration, they come after the board. And so we want to make sure we are well informed on any decision that we make as it relates to any type of budgeting for our district. So I just want to say that because we kind of heard a few things swirling. I didn't do a lot of conversating because of my mom's situation, but we kind of heard a lot of things back and forth, and thank you, Dr. Moore, for stating that. We just want to make sure that we all on the same team, heading in the same direction.
And I just want to say one thing is that being the newbie on the board, I take so much pride in these guys right here, because when this particular situation came to our attention and we didn't have all the information that we needed, we wanted to make sure that we had all the information so that the teachers get everything that they deserve, the department chairs get everything that they deserve. And we decided as a team that we were going to make sure, so today we stand as a united front that we want them to get what they deserve because they worked hard for it And like you said, they're not gonna come for, they come for us. So we don't want them to come for us. So thank you, teachers, thank you, department chairs, and all the other ones that we had to vote on this for.
Any other comments? I will go ahead and add a comment myself. To piggyback on what Dr. Moore said, that we got a lot more clarity. And what comes with clarity is a clear view of improvement, opportunities for improvement. And so after the many conversations that we had, we've got some, well, I'll say that we are very, we're left with high expectations to our next time we negotiate, so that we can talk about some of the things and look at those opportunities of improvement. So, but thank you to our teachers and all of our staff for your hard work, and I promise you as a board, we are continuing to look at those things as we move forward. Any more questions or comments?
Nope.
All right, so we'll move on to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was a good eye there. Any opposed? All right, the ayes carried. Thank you, Dr. Young. Next, we have action item C, Human Resource Report. Due to the confidentiality of the Human Resource Report, we won't entertain any questions or comments. Dr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I recommend approval of the Human Resource Report as presented.
So moved, by President.
Okay.
Second?
We have a first and a second. We'll move on to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Young.
Thank you.
Next, we have action item D, addition of the new IDOE course for CTE. Mr. Inman.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Young, I'm seeking approval for action item D, the addition of a new course for a CTE program at Pike High School as presented.
I move we accept the addition of the new IDOE course for CTE at Pike High School.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Are there any questions or comments?
I do have a comment. I like this class. Looking it over, you can tell that IDOE is really responding to the teacher shortage in a really creative way. Nothing against early childhood, but it is included in the course. But seeing that students have the opportunity their freshman or sophomore year to take 1 or 2 semesters in the class, that's going to be helpful for us, I think, as a district, for sure.
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Inman, how do you feel about it?
No, I think we already have a course called Education Professions that we have 80 to 90 students in. This is going to be the introduction course to that, so it'll be a lead-in course. Obviously, you can see in your notes that it'll be funded through our CTE program, so we get dollars for that. So very excited about it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Inman. I would like to combine action items E and F. Mr. Foster.
Good evening again, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Young. I recommend contract item E and F, contracts and donations. I recommend your approval as presented.
I make a motion that we approve E and F.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Are there any questions or comments on action items E and F?
I did have one question. Dr. Young did a great job answering a lot of my questions about some of the contracts for Elevate Ed. I understand that we pay for that with Title II money. With, as best we can answer, with everything that's going on with the Department of Ed, is any of that Title II money at risk? Is this money we have already received? Are we still waiting to receive it?
We received it for this year, currently. Go ahead, I have. Dr. Nunley oversees Title II, so we'll ask him to respond.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Young. Thank you for your question. We've received our funds for this year, and we've already been awarded next year's allocation.
That was the only concern I had was, is the check in the mail and the mail may not be delivered, okay?
I ain't seen a check, but we have been awarded next year's allocation.
Mr. Foster, did you see the check? All right, we want to make sure.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments on E and F?
I do, to Dr. Young, if I may. Dr. Young, with all that is going on, and I know the assessment of what you're doing to try to find out where the district will be. I heard the amount of $2 million possibly, that we could be, from the comments I heard from some of the things that could take place. How do you feel about things as it relates to where we sit, and if we are approached that way?
Sure.
How do you feel about it?
We'll be okay.
Okay.
We'll be okay. Now, we will continue to fight and speak out to make sure that we get every dollar that we can for our students.
Okay.
But based on the last run that is now moved on to the House, we'll survive. We'll be okay. Matter of fact, we had some conversations, I think, at the business office here today, and we'll actually even, in an upcoming work session that the board gives us the opportunity, we kind of like to talk about some things in detail. We have some things that are available to us that we haven't even had to touch or to even think about in regards to investments and a whole bunch of other stuff. So we're fine.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move on to vote. All in favor for actions items E and F, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Lastly, we are down to board member items. Dr. Moore.
Doing a lot of talking tonight. I'm excited about being able to get the administrative classified staff paid increase. I'm happy about that. I just wish I had something to do with the increases, if you know what I mean. That simply means I wish we could do more. I'm just excited about that. And to hear about special ed tonight, it's heart-moving and heart-wrenching. And to see and to hear what we're doing in that particular area is phenomenal. I want to thank this board. And this is the first time I've ever done this, for the ability to stick together to get this done tonight. The love that has been shown for these teachers and staff to make sure we understood what was going to happen for them. And I want to thank you all publicly for making this happen tonight as we work together to make Pike Township a great township. Thank you. I'm done.
All right, thank you, Dr. Moore. Ms. Wilson.
Okay, I just want to say again, thank you guys for coming out tonight, and for those that are watching. Exceptional learners, it's a soft spot for me, and to watch it grow and to see the presentation, I was excited, and to know that Pike is doing what they're doing for that is great. Pike has so many positive things, and it doesn't matter whether it's band or the gym or PE, or whether it's science, CTE, or whether it's Kamara Brooks doing her thing with the junior all-star. So we have so many things that we are able to make everybody know who we are. And on March the 19th, we need to make sure that they know who we are. So we need to, I know 6:45 it's been Pike, but 20 minutes, we need to be there. And we need to make sure we are there to let them know that we're not happy with losing $2 million. And we're not happy with sharing it with other districts or whatever that they think they want us to do. And we're not going to win if we don't stand together. And these guys right here, we stood together, and people are going to profit from that. So I think we could do the same thing here.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Hoover.
All right. Well, I loved hearing all of the things, the accomplishments from, we often hear accomplishments from sports, right? That gets a lot of publicity. It's great to hear what our athletes are doing. It was awesome to hear what our musicians, the kids in the arts are doing. Also, with that in mind, my wife and I got a chance to go see the Aristocats last night. It was awesome. I loved especially that it was completely student-led. The students put it on, and so my hats off to that teacher. It was a really good job in giving the kids the freedom, and clearly what she had taught them is paying off. They're learning their stuff. Did want to offer condolences to Mr. Elmore. Go back quite a ways with him. He was elementary school principal whenever my son was in elementary school, and so we've known him for many years. And so definitely condolences there. Want to compliment Mr. Heck on the digital learning and AI fair. I completely geeked out. I meant to wear my bracelet that I earned that night, the little red bracelet, going to all the booths, but it was so encouraging to hear again, really creative, really thoughtful ways that our teachers, our students, that everybody is implementing this technology. A lot of justifiable concerns. We want to be wise, but love hearing the ingenuity. It was really, really great. Also had a great time. I mentioned already getting to read to the kids at Nathaniel Jones, and then got to go down and see the kids at the Guyan Elementary, also the 3-year-olds, and read with some of them. And so Miss Blandon and Miss Kendrick and just all their staff, just phenomenal job that they're doing, just amazing. And I guess I'll preface this one with, these are my opinions alone, but I want to offer, I don't know if it's sympathy, condolences, a lot of anger at what happened, but just to the teachers at Zionsville that were doxxed by our Attorney General. That's horrible. It's cowardice. It's mean. It's dangerous. God forbid that happened to our teachers here, because they're showing love to our students. And so, we're on the basketball court, on the whatever, we may be rivals, but we're all in public education. We're all in this together. And so I just wanted to say something about that.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Dr. Webster?
Yeah, I just want to pivot to a couple of meetings that Mr. Hoover sent us regarding the Mind Trust with regards to the GLIC, the Faber Card, the Faber Card Center, and the Global Village. I know we have in the past been partners with them. We have even taken some of our children on field trips to the Global Village. But I think we have to be mindful of strategies that is being done in our community, especially as it relates to our families. And so, whereas, and this is me, certainly me personally, where maybe some of us may not have problems with that, but when you are offering a dinner and a whole 2 or 3 hour schedule, and then to talk about education, based on what we heard tonight, I don't know, perhaps a charter school that will go to the lengths and exceptional learning that we've gone to. So I just think that we have to, as a district, be very vigilant as we see strategy continuously coming against us and seeking to root into our district. And that $2 million that you're talking about, Dr. Moore, and others, a lot of that is taken from us in the force for sharing. So I think that's my heart tonight. And when I see these people, I certainly know the head of the Global Village. I have a personal relationship with her, and these are people that I'll sit and I'll talk to find out what's your reason, what's your rhyme, especially if you're partnering with us. So I think that that's my concern, and I would hope that we as a district will draw back any type of partnership in advancement if these are people that are giving space to Mind Trust and charter schools. So that's my concern.
Thank you, Dr. Webster. Mrs. Barnes.
I had the pleasure to meet several members of Pike High School Best Buddies because I was with my Best Buddies chapter at the Friendship Ball. So it was a lot of fun merging our two chapters together, dancing and having a really good time at Newfields. Also, I want to say happy early Pi Day, which is tomorrow. And tomorrow morning, there is a lunar eclipse. So hopefully those who are watching, those who are here, you can spare a little time in the morning, eat a little piece of pie, and watch a lunar eclipse all in one go.
Thank you, Mrs. Barnes. Ms. Nicole Kelly.
Good evening. Super excited about all the great things that are going on in Pike, as always. Glad that we were able to, as has been shared, come together as a board for our staff to receive what they're not fully worth, but what we can do at this time to the best of our ability, and to appreciate them. The exceptional learning presentation that went forth, very excellent, very proud of the work we're doing, proud of the fact that in our Pike community, there is space for everyone. We are attempting to get involved, find your niche. As Mr. Hooper was saying, we have sports, athletics, all of the different things, art, music, drama, getting involved. And the parents that are watching, there's a place for your child in Pike, and just getting there. Our teachers are excellent. They love your students and care about your students, so we're wanting everyone to feel welcome in Pike. Treasures is Saturday, so if you have not purchased your ticket for the fundraising that will take place, because the foundation has generously blessed our district as always as one of our top donors, so that we need to replenish those coffers so that we can continue to have funds to continue to give. So Saturday at 6 it starts?
I'm phoning a friend too, and she's not looking.
Right.
I don't know.
5:30, I think. 5:30 at Broadmoor Country Club. Please go online, purchase your ticket, and join us for a fun evening of fundraising and fellowship.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Dr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everything I was going to share, I've had an opportunity to say. So I'm just going to say this: don't just come tomorrow, but bring your pocketbook. There are so many innovative things that happen in our school district that are funded through the Pike Township Educational Foundation. There's no, can we put that picture back up of the children so someone play some music? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to pull at your heartstrings. But the Educational Foundation is a vital part of the experience that our children get in Pike Township. We talk about Pike Township being the gift that you didn't know that you needed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look in and you start peeling back the different layers, you're going to find the Pike Township Educational Foundation right smack dab in there. They are that important, and they're that supportive of the work that we do. So, cut back on the Starbucks drinks or whatever you need to do. But hey, please, please, please support them financially, because they turn around the money that they raise. They turn around and they give it to our teachers who are supporting our students, and also scholarships and a whole bunch of other stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Young, and I'll just leave with this. I'll echo the sentiments of a few of my board members. I'd like to commend us because we really came together in dealing with the pay increases. And so I'm proud of all of you who we talked it out, we worked hard, and we learned a lot of things. And so I'm excited to see what comes of that. Also, with so many things that are going on in our climate, you see that we have entities that are still trying to assassinate the image of public education in our own backyard. We haven't forgotten, and we know who they are, and we'll continue to work to keep Pike in the fight against that. So with that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved, Brother President.
All right.
Second.
Got first and second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.